We worked so hard to get projects finished, and the whole team did. We did everything we possibly could for our clients. I never went back to a single client and charged them a variation. Not for extra costs, not for extra time, nothing. And the way some of those clients thanked me was not paying their final invoice. Makes you want to burn your company to the ground.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch other people about it.
Hey guys, before we kick off this episode, I just want to thank our content partners. You guys know it, Abodo, for supporting the Better Builder podcast. Now, I've actually firsthand heard from a lot of builders who love working with Abodo timbers. Over the last 20 years, they've perfected the art of thermally modifying New Zealand radiata. Now, that just means there's no chemicals on there. They pretty much just use steam and heat to modify the timber. So what does that mean? It's great on the tools, it's super light, it's durable and stable, which we know helps deliver a great end result for your clients. Good job, Abodo. Now, let's get this episode rolling. George Passas, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Yeah, it's I've been following you from a distance, on the old IG. You've been up to some really good stuff, actually. So a lot of content coming out from your office, which is cool. Good to see.
Yeah, it's been a main focus for this year. Look, it's been a focus for all the years, really. But this one particularly, we made a commitment to go to that next level and really start not just improving the quality, but also the quantity as well.
Yeah, because there's like a saying, right? There's like the quality is almost in the quantity.
Yeah.
I've messed that one up, the saying, but it's almost saying like the more you do it, the better you're going to get, and the quality's going to improve.
It's reps at the end of the day, and that's what people don't. That's what they fail to know. They probably know it, but they fail to execute. That's the thing, and it's just repetitions. You go to the gym, you don't go there after one session and walk out and think I'm going to have a six pack. You need to do 10 push-ups 10 times a day for the next 10 months to see a result, and that's what social media is about, and that's what we've really been doing across all the platforms, across all the businesses as well. So, and personal brand too. That's something I've been really working on a lot this year.
100%. So I want to talk about all of that, talk about Builder Elite as well, which is your coaching program, and Pascon, which is your construction company as well. Let's rewind a bit. Let's go back a little bit to the beginning. Where did you grow up? Are you a Melbourne boy?
I'm a Melbourne boy, born and bred. So I've been here my whole life. My parents are from Greece, so I've got Greek heritage and really strong roots in that space as well. But yeah, born and bred in Melbourne, in eastern suburbs of Melbourne, and then recently moved Bayside. Well, not recently, when I got married, moved down to Bayside. So I've been here for the last sort of 12, 13 years. And always never been the type. My dad's a builder, but never from day one, if that makes sense. He's had a real entrepreneurial journey himself. But he did become a builder probably when I was in my teens. And then that's when I started to get the interest for the industry and wanted to get into that space more so. Yeah.
So who were you in high school? Or let's put it this way, who would your friends say George was at high school?
Yeah, good question. I'm not too sure. It's funny, I played AFL football. So
oh, real cool.
Yeah, so it would have been to my mates, I was always the wog that played football, and then to all the Greeks, I was the wog that played Aussie rules and hung out with them. So yeah, it was, I was never an A-grade student at all, but I did have a really good work ethic, I think from a very young age. I think football probably was my first introduction to that, working hard and playing really well and getting the results in that space. And then that transitioned into work once I left high school as well. Went into a building diploma first up, and then got a part-time job with a carpenter builder type person, and just did the worst of the worst jobs. But I got a real good appreciation for what a hard day's work was. And as a result of that, I carried that through my whole career, really.
And what was so who did you play for?
I just local football, East Build Rams. I didn't go any further than that. But
and then you just stopped when you hit like 18 or something?
No, I did play up until my mid-20s. Then, I had a knee injury, then took a year off, and then came back, and then had another injury, then took a year off, and then came back for a bit. So yeah, probably mid to late 20s, I gave that sport up, but I've always loved it. I've always enjoyed following it and watching it on TV. But yeah, I gave that up, probably in my prime, let's say.
Yes, okay. Yeah, it's definitely, it's cool to watch. I mean, I don't watch a lot of AFL because I'm obviously from Australia, even though I lived there for a little, and South Australia for a
Yeah.
little bit. So there was a bit there, obviously. But okay, so that's cool. So then you went and worked for someone. What was that like the first day, kind of walking up onto the building site?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I remember my first day, I got a job at Multiplex, who are one of the biggest builders in the country.
Cool.
And I remember my first day thinking, I'm going to walk in there, I'm going to crush it. Like I'm a builder, my dad's a builder, I know everything. And they opened up the plans and I had no idea what the fuck I was looking at. I'm like, this is gibberish. I've got no idea what I'm doing. And it was a real sink or swim scenario with Multiplex particularly. They sort of threw you in the deep end. They said, here, do this. If you did it, great. They'd keep you on. If they didn't, they'd say, sorry, we're going to let you go. So it was a really great learning experience. I also had the privilege of working with some of the best construction minds in the country. That was probably the best thing I had. And there was definitely some big characters there. Had some bosses that real authoritarian type boss, do it fucking this way or get the fuck out. Like it was very much, old school builders. Yeah. Very much like that. And that was good for me, I think, because it toughened me up a bit. I was probably a bit soft coming into the industry and not having been exposed to that level of pressure and type of person. And it did one of two things for me. It was good because I had that experience with that difficult person or difficult people, but it also made me realize that that's not what I'm going to be like when I get into a senior position as well.
Yeah.
But I did need to know how to handle that person, even when I'm as a junior or a senior. And again, that's just made me better at what I do now in everything in business as well.
Yeah, 100%. So you then started working there, bit of a tough first day, kind of like into the deep end.
Yeah.
And then talk me through, how did you did you go work for a few building companies, and was that a cadetship?
Yeah, it starts off as that, like a grad program. So you're there for a year or so in that grad program. And the thing with tier one construction companies is they need you to they'll get you to do everything at once, as in all different aspects of construction. But ultimately, they need you to specialize in an area. They need you to be a design consultant. They need a coordinator. They need you to be in estimating, contract administration, project management, site management, whatever it is, because they need you to be really good at that one thing. And so I did a couple of years at Multis. The only reason I left at the time, or not left, I got made redundant in late 2008, early 2009. And from there, one of the senior managers became a director at Abigroup, and he called me up and said, hey, come across, we're building some schools and want you all part of the team. So it went from Multis to Abigroup, another $1 billion company as well. They were turning over $1 billion worth of work. They had a huge civil division, but I was part of the construction and worked there for about 2 or 3 years. I can't remember now, but really good culture, young team. I really enjoyed it there. The only reason I left Abigroup at that time is their construction division wasn't winning work, and they moved me onto the freeway that they were building down Peninsula Link. And fortunately, whilst I was there, they got me to build the only building they had on the job, which was a freeway control center. That project got me my commercial license, or the experience I needed to get my commercial license. So I got that whilst I was there. And then once that project finished, I saw the writing on the wall. There wasn't really a role for me there in the building side of things. And then I went off and worked at a boutique company called Buildcept, they were doing about 20 mil turnover at the time, and they sort of grew to about 30, 40 mil by the time that I had left. Unfortunately, they became a statistic. I think it was in 2019, just before COVID as well. So that was, again, after my time. But in 2015, I left that company and then started my own venture with Pascon.
Amazing. So what was your thought process at that time?
Yeah, look, for me, it wasn't something that I had aspired to do, to have my own construction company, funny enough. And it sort of fell into my lap a little bit because we had a client or a family friend who was quite wealthy and wanted to get into the development space. And he goes, look, I've got so much property. He goes, I want to work with someone that I trust. He goes, do you guys want to start a venture and start building? And then we're like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So I kind of got, I would say, lucky to a degree. With my first couple of years, I had literally 2 years worth of projects lined up, and it was just a matter of go, 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 go. Everything was at our disposal, whatever we needed. And it was a really good learning experience, but also it was great to sort of get me started in that space too, because I made a few mistakes at the beginning, but learned from them as well and carried them forward moving on after that. So that lasted for about a couple of years, and then that developer decided he didn't want to really build too much more at the time. And that's when we started to do a lot more client work, specifically tendering on jobs and getting them to come through the door.
Yeah. Construction is such a complicated game. Just because you're getting a bunch of work coming through the door, that's sort of just one part of the puzzle solved.
right.
And then there's all the other things at the back end. What were sort of the biggest challenges for you if you kind of could put yourself back there when you started, what was the biggest challenge for you at the time?
Yeah, really good question. I'd say the very first thing is you don't know what you don't know. And what I've realised now after many years in the game, I've got a few greys now on my chin. They weren't there when I first started, that's for sure. But when you get your license, it's almost a license to fail. Your registration, your building license. Because the day you get registered is the day you stop becoming a builder. But so many guys don't think that. They go, oh, cool, I'm a builder. No, you're not a builder anymore. You manage a construction company. That's what your role should be. Your company will build. You don't build anymore. And I wish I had someone when I first started to just tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, you need to start thinking more business orientated, not construction orientated. And that was probably a lesson I learned along the years as I progressed. And particularly in, I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere there, we were tendering on a whole bunch of work and everything landed all at once, which was great. But the company grew and I didn't. And as a result of that, we started to make mistakes. We started to drop in quality. Timing was being delayed. There was unhappy clients, unorganized subcontractors. And that's probably the time that I actually started to seek out a mentor to help me in that space and go, look, I'm starting to lose, we got all this work, but I'm losing control. What do you need to do? What do I do? And
so how many years was that in, and how many projects
I'd say that was
were you
about
working on?
3 to 4 years in at that stage.
And how many projects were you working on at the same time?
Well, it wasn't so much the quantity, it was probably more the value. Because we were targeting architectural homes, we started to get detailed high-end homes and projects on the books. So we're talking jobs between 1 and 5 mil at that stage. And they just needed a lot more attention to detail. And I had plenty of experience working on large projects myself, but I needed the team to execute as well. And that's when I started to realize, hey, I can't be doing everything. I can't be wearing all the hats. Can't be supervising, can't be in the office. I can't be managing trades or suppliers and negotiating with clients. So I needed, at that time, I literally went out and I hired about 4 or 5 people in one go. Got some site guys, administrators, people in the office. And I was fortunate at the time as well because my old man joined the team too. So I had complete faith and trust in him, and he's an old school builder. So he walks on site and can see things without looking at the plans, as in, that's wrong, fix it. What do you mean? It's as per the plan. He goes, the plans are wrong, that's fucking gonna fall down, fix it. And it's really good to have that type of person in the business. And in my experience and in everything I've been doing in the coaching stuff, I really see that as almost critical to a construction company. You really need the 2 people in the business. You need the person that runs the office and you need the person that runs the sites. You have to have the 2. Otherwise, you can never do both competently and to their full ability either. And that was probably my very first hurdle that I experienced. Then we hired more people, got through that, and then the amazing period of COVID came along too. And just before COVID, looking back again, I reckon I was arrogant. I reckon my shit didn't stink. How good am I? I'm getting all the appraisals from everyone. Hey, oh man, you guys are killing it. You got so many projects. You're doing so well. There was good money. I was making good money at the time as well. And COVID came along and I wasn't prepared. And who could be, right? But I'm massive on taking huge amounts of responsibility because ultimately everything's my fault. Then everything's within my ability to control and to also take action against. And COVID comes along, and at the start, I think it was okay. It was okay at the beginning because, as I said, plenty of finances there, plenty of projects. We had heaps of jobs on. But then through the thick of it, when we had the price increases with everything, timber went up 900%, and we have fixed lump sum contracts. I had projects that were delayed by 6 months with $10,000 a month in prelim costs. So you do 5 projects, $10,000 a month, 6 months. That's a lot of money that you're losing just in prelims. Then you take into consideration all the cost of materials, the ability to get qualified trades, the lack in quality that you'd have to go back and fix from people fucking it up. And we lost we got hit really bad during that time and nearly sent the company under, in the sense that we weren't going to go broke, but I really considered closing the doors. I said, this isn't worth it. Why am I going down this path, putting all this risk on the table and not getting the reward for it? And it took a lot of soul searching for myself, from mental, physical, spiritual health, all that sort of side of things during COVID for me. It was very difficult. It's funny, living in the moment, you don't think it's happening to you. And I didn't think mentally I was bad, but looking back, I can see that I wasn't at my best performance. I wasn't the best father. And again, not a bad father, just not the best. I wasn't the best husband, not a bad husband, just not the best husband. And my family deserved that. I was coming home after a hard day and not taking it out on them, but just not being as present as I could.
Yeah.
And I look back at that as my biggest challenge, but also as hard as COVID was, as difficult as it was also the best thing that ever happened to me too.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's to be able to reflect back and kind of because it's a bit of a smash to the ego when you are doing so well, you're flying high. It's a lot of ego stroking, a lot of people
Absolutely
complimenting you, and then all of a sudden it comes to a halt.
Yeah.
So give me an idea, how much money did you
Did we lose?
Did you lose during that
Yeah, it was
period?
over $1 million
Yeah.
during that period. And that's not stuff that, it's literally from losses on the projects, from direct costs. And this is the other thing I'm really proud of during that time. I did not reduce anyone's hours and I did not reduce anyone's pay. I paid every single person. We did jobs. This is what hurt us the most, I think. And what really lost my love for the industry at that time was we worked so hard to get projects finished, and the whole team did. We worked so hard to get the jobs done. We did everything we possibly could for our clients. I never went back to a single client and charged them a variation, not for extra costs, not for extra time, nothing. And the way some of those clients thanked me was not paying their final invoice. And that's the sort of thing that just makes you want to burn your company to the ground. It's not worth being in the space. You're going through all this heartache, all this effort, everything, and then for them to have the audacity not to turn around and pay you your final invoice, you're like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You are the worst humans on the planet. And that happened on 3 projects for us. And you look back at not only the losses, but then those losses of not getting paid and then having to go through the system to try and get it, which is all fucked in the first place. And then going through that's what really lost my love for the game and why I considered walking away. But we ended up getting through that period and won a significant project that pretty much brought us back. It was that one job that just had made really good money, amazing clients, the type of people you always want to build for. And then I built a whole ecosystem around making sure we qualify our clients and the people that we want to work for, and really changing the mentality from the client is the prize to I'm the prize. Clients and people that come to me to build their home or their project are lucky to have me. I'm not lucky to have them. And that's not a level of arrogance, that's a level of conviction and belief in what I do. I know that you're going to be really happy with the product that I give you because I'm going to do everything I possibly can to give you the best home, to give you the best project. And that in itself has just changed the whole game for us. We now have amazing clients across the board. And the second I feel I've learned to trust my gut as well, the second I feel someone's not in line with our values and what we're about, I'm very quick to say, look, I don't think that we're going to be tendering on this project. Thank you so much for your help, but we're booked out until 2028.
Yeah.
Nice way to say.
And it took you a bit of pain to get there.
I took a lot of pain, yeah. And that's the thing. I paid with that experience. And as a result of all that experience, we mentioned Builder Elite before. Builder Elite was the brainchild of COVID as well, post that, because I didn't want other builders to go through what I went through. And also I wanted to make sure I never went through that. But the ability, I'm very good at what I do. I often stand up, we do live events as well in front of hundreds of builders. And I often stand up there and I say, guys, I'm standing in front of you today as the best builder in Australia. The best. You will not interview another builder better than me. Okay, now that's not me shitting on every other builder in the country. That's not me shitting on your next guest or your previous guests. It's just me having conviction. And if I don't believe I'm the best builder in the country, who is?
Yeah.
No one else is. I need to believe it. So then that way, everything I do, all my actions, all my processes, absolutely everything I do is to be in line with my core value of being the best builder in the country. It's not about me saying I am number one. I haven't checked the spreadsheet. I don't know where I'm ranked. It doesn't matter to me. It's just me having that belief so that I can then put things in place to do that. And that's where Builder Elite came from as well,
Yeah.
going, well, cool, if I'm going to be the best, how can I do that? Well, I'm going to teach everyone to be the best as well.
Yeah. I love that because builders generally don't see themselves as they should. So a builder really, if you're running a building company, you're a professional, you're a consultant, you know what I mean? You're actually helping a client getting their project ready for construction and then post handover, and then you actually take on some warranties. And you're not a guy swinging a hammer, you're a professional.
Right. We provide a service, and that's what people see. Like they go, oh, we provide a product. No, we don't. I don't make the bricks. I don't make the timber. We provide a service and manage the process. And I have this saying that good builders don't build anything. They manage the building process. Yeah. And that's where everyone starts to think, oh, wow, yeah, you're right. I go, of course I'm right. I know I'm right. I've gone through the shit. I've gone through the good times and the bad times, and I'm here. And today we're killing it because of everything I've done. Now you can learn from that or not. That's fine. I'm not going to beg you. I'm just going to show you the way.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about Builder Elite in terms of I'm kind of more interested around like what sort of you've found through like the students have come through, because obviously success leaves clues, failure leaves clues, and it's always kind of good to kind of bunch them up, even if it's anecdotally, and kind of see where there's, through threads or whatever you call it. But let's start with Pascon, your company. I assume that's from your last name, Passas.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Construction.
Yeah, very original.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I like the name though. It's nice and snappy.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. So how big is your team? The classic builder question at a barbecue to another builder.
Yeah.
How many guys you've got, how many guys have you got? How big is your team? Office versus on-site, qualified versus unqualified? Just paint a bit of a picture.
Yeah, so at the moment we're a team of about 9. So we've got 4 in the office and 5 on site. It consists of myself, project manager, contract administrator. I've got a personal assistant now as well. And then we've got construction manager, site managers, apprentice, and that's pretty much it from the team in that perspective. Recently, just as of literally last week, I have a new structure, and probably one of the things I'm most proud of in my journey today is we've just put on a general manager. So I'm going to start stepping back from the day-to-day operations of Pascon and effectively trying to put it under management, which will then allow me to grow Builder Elite. But yeah, general manager is going to start in January of next year. Done a little bit of a company restructure, and the intent of that is for a couple of things: to grow the business more so, but also for me to step back from the day-to-day operations and really start to focus in on growing the organisation, but also just being that CEO type role in the organisation too. So that's something I'm really proud of, that we got to that. And again, nothing I ever thought I would be. When I started the company, I was like, no, I'm going to be this person forever. I'm going to be the director. I'm going to be the guy, the boss. No one's going to be higher than me. And it's great now that I've got that maturity and understanding and doing things differently. That's what it comes to. You're saying success leaves clues. Look at what every other builder is doing. Everyone's doing the same shit. Always. They're always doing the same thing. Well, what do you need to do to be that next level? And this is it for me. I'm going to start going, well, cool, I'm going to put it under management, and then I'll show others how to put their businesses under management. But coming back to what you're saying with Pascon, so we've got the team in the office and also on site. It's a great combination between the two. I try not to have the office team versus the site team. It is the one team. So we often catch up and talk business, and everyone's a part of that whole process. But yeah, I feel that the structure is working really well for us, and we may be smaller than other companies, but I feel that we can deliver a lot more with what we've got and how we're structured. And that's, again, all my processes and procedures that I've accumulated over the years working for a Multiplex all the way to my own company now is what allows us to do that. So we're focused now on a lot of high-end residential type projects. I do have my commercial license, as I mentioned earlier, so we have done a couple of jobs in the past, and it's probably something I'm going to look at, a division I'm going to grow when I step into the CEO role next year, more so. But predominantly at the moment, we're doing high-end residential jobs anywhere between $1 to $8 million for a single project value.
And you do like one project at a time, couple of projects at a time?
No, at the moment we'll have 6 projects on the go. And by the end of the year, I'm looking to sign up at least another 2 or 3 significant projects. So one of our tenders, we've been verbally awarded, which is great. So it's just a matter of fine tuning that and actually getting that signed up. So we'll get that signed up pretty soon. and then have another couple of big ones that we're looking to get signed up before the end of the year as well. And then it's also forecasting other projects for next year too. But the intent is once the GM steps into that role, I can go, cool, here are your jobs, sort them out. This is how we do it. These are our systems. These are our processes. This is the team you're going to have, and then grow from there.
How did you find a GM?
Well, he's a guy that I've known for many years as well. We've been mates and connected, and he also went through that COVID period, very difficult for him. And he just called me up one day and says, look, I need a break. He goes, I don't want to be doing this anymore for myself. I said, look, I've got a project. Like I don't have much on at the moment, but I've got a project. I'm looking for a site manager. He goes, if that's something you're interested in, he goes, yeah, absolutely. So he came on board as a site manager looking after an apartment job that we're building, and he's done very well there. And I've had preliminary conversations with him probably a year ago about something might come up in the future. And then it was just about me ripping off the Band-Aid, because it's very easy for me to sit in this role and not give it to anyone else, and because I'm giving the keys to the city to someone. You go, here you go. It's all yours. You drive. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, just people listening into this would just be thinking, jeepers, okay, like handing over my business to another person.
That's right. And it's not like, I'm not a massive organization, but I'm not small either. Like I've got some decent cogs moving around, and he's a builder as well. So that's the other thing. He's a registered practitioner. He's done sales. He's worked through COVID. So he's gone through challenges himself that in itself shows me he can do it and do it well. And he still has, even with the Builder Elite stuff that I've been doing with all my training and mentoring with all the guys, I got him to come to those events too, with the intent of him learning what I'm teaching so he can implement when he's in that role. And then, I think it was about two months ago, I actually sat down with him, went out for dinner, and we said, cool, let's sit down. What's this look like? How are we going to paint this picture? I want you to come on board. He's accepted. And now it's about us. Look, there'll be a transition period for the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, for sure.
And seeing how everything works and how it fits in. But yeah, I'm excited about it, and I think he's going to do really well.
Yeah.
So, there was that level of trust there. He was working with me for a year and a half, 2 years before I actually gave him the role. So it wasn't an external person that I just found off the street or went through an interview process. I had that level of trust in him to do the role in the first place, which I think for me was important. I can understand other people doing the interview process, but for me it was important to have him, at least because culture comes into it too. I need to make sure he fits within the culture of the company and what we bring as a business as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of builders who kind of go through that process, right? They start the business, they go hard, they revenue chase.
Yeah.
They work themselves into, to a point where their wife don't know know them anymore, and the kids, they don't know the kids' names anymore. And then some, and then they kind of go, okay, this is not sustainable. I'm going to have to pass on some tasks, some responsibility to others. And do you think, working with Builder Elite builders as well and just other guys, do you think that generally builders wait too long until they start handing over responsibility?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because as I said, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. That's the first thing they've got to get over. And I'd say 80% of the builders out there come from a trade background too.
Yeah.
They were carpenters, they might have been a plumber, an electrician, and then got their registration. So for them, they're very much technically sound. I don't, at all my Builder Elite stuff, I don't talk about construction methodology at all. It's all business. That's what it comes down to, how to run a construction company really well. It's nothing to do with, should I use light gauge steel instead of timber? They're things, I'm assuming you have that level of competency in you already because you've got your license. And that's where the whole process and the system fails with all the governing bodies in Victoria, New South Wales, wherever you are. They test you on your competency technically. And you go, oh, know this act, know this regulation, know this height, know this, whatever it might be, this standard. But nothing to do with running a construction company. Like, okay, how much profit should you put on a project? So everyone's like, 10, 15%. Who the fuck told you to do that? Who said 10 to 15% was fair and reasonable? Why isn't 45% reasonable? You have to warrant the thing for the next 10 years. Yeah, you understand that, don't you? But 10% is fair and reasonable. Who said?
Yeah.
Some things, and like some people are like, holy shit, yeah, you're right. Like who told me 10 to 15% is what I should be making? Why can't I make 25, 35%? And them even understanding the difference between markup and margin. A lot of builders don't understand that. Then they're like, okay, what system should I use for my takeoffs? What should I use for my software? I've just been using Excel. Like, oh man, the amount of builders I see using Excel and working off spreadsheets. I go, guys, like it's a recipe for disaster, especially as you grow.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have too many fingers in the pie, and you're not going to know what's what.
Yeah. What sort of software do you recommend normally?
Look, I don't recommend anything specifically. I just say you need to use construction-specific software.
Right.
Use one of them that
like
works for your
Build a
business.
Trend
Build a
or
Trend,
one of those
Build
ones.
Exact, all those.
Rave Build New
I
Zealand.
use.
Shout out.
Look, coming from my commercial background, I use GEOps for my financial management. I think it's the best in the industry. I don't think there's anything better at this stage. I haven't tried anything else in depth like that, and I don't really intend to. For me, it gives accurate to the cent reporting on all my projects and tracks everything. And it's never wrong. The information you put in is wrong, but could be wrong. But the actual system itself is generally never wrong. So, but that's just one little thing. Okay, so your financial. How do you manage OH&S? How do you manage marketing? How do you manage branding? How do you manage employees? How do you manage every other systems process that you have in your organization? But, I know how to build a house.
Yeah. And people generally just sort of take tidbits from what they hear from
Right.
other builders, like you say, with a 10 to 15% or whatever.
Yeah.
They just sort of hear something and they go, oh, yeah, cool, figure it out, put it in there. It's definitely, you're definitely going to have to learn that business side. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it. It's going to be a disaster.
No, and you touched on it with the family stuff too and your friends. Like you end up, you work all day, then you come home and quote. Or you work all day and you're a zombie when you walk in the door. And for me, this was a moment that hit hard for me. And it was, my son during COVID, I think he was 5 years old, something like that. And he was playing. And I was on the couch. He was recording himself on his iPad. And he was talking, acting, playing with his toys, whatever he was doing. And I grabbed his iPad a couple of years later or whatever, and I saw that video. I was sitting on the couch on the corner just with a glass of tea, a cup of tea, and I was in my pajamas. I looked overweight and I just looked miserable, like just watching TV, And then he's playing there on the carpet and he had his iPad recording. And I think I said something along the lines of, Stevie, please be quiet, or, don't do that. And then I looked at that and I go, you fucking piece of shit. Piece of shit, you're sitting there. Your problems are not his problems. All he wants to do is play. He'd love to play with you, but you're sitting there because you're tired, because you've had a hard day at work. Man up. And then I saw that and I was like, that changed my perception on business and life in that 1 second. I'm like, cool. Went to the gym after that, lost a whole bunch of weight. And every single opportunity I've had since that point to play with my kids, to do anything with my kids, I do it every single time. Because they're kids once. And then once that's gone, you lose it. And when they're 18 years old and you say, hey, come sit on my lap, they say, Dad, fuck off, like don't talk to me. But now they do. Now I'm their most important thing in their world. And then extend that onto the relationship with your partner as well. Okay, you come home, it's not, how was your day? Oh yeah, good. What'd you get up to? No, not much. Just went to the gym, did this. How was work? Yeah, it was good. Oh, this client's a dickhead. Like, have a deep and meaningful conversation with your partner, not just the standard every single day, Groundhog Day, coming back from work, having dinner, having a shower, going to bed. And that's what it became for us. And again, I understand it was COVID, extreme situations, but what's to say COVID never happened, that then fast forward 10 more years and it's the same shit. So
yeah.
That's why I say COVID was the worst thing that ever happened to me and the best thing that ever happened to me. Because now I'm a better husband, father, business owner. I'm better looking. I look after myself better now. I exercise. I went out and had a personal trainer 3 times a week for the last year. Eat healthy. We do so many things now. Like every Friday morning, we go for breakfast. I go for breakfast with my wife because it's an opportunity for us to talk everything outside of being in the 4 walls of our house.
Yeah.
Life, business, holidays, money, houses, like everything outside of that. Our relationship, like spending quality time. And, I've got a training coming up in December actually with all my mentees. We're going to Brisbane for 3 days and it's literally on this topic, on vitality and life and everything you do in and outside of your business for it to serve you, not to be a hindrance to you, not for you to be a prisoner to it. And that's again partly why I'm putting on a GM too. because I've realized what it's taken me to get to this point. Like next year's our 10th year in business, which is again a fantastic milestone. But I didn't want the next 10 years to be like the last. I don't want to be a slave to my business for the rest of my life. I want it to make lots of money. I want it to be really successful, but it also needs to do that without me.
Yeah, 100%. I had this conversation with my brother last night. I went for dinner and around the same topic, and it was around just you're going to have to. We talked about improving income and money coming in and all that, and we were both just discussing the fact that you do need to improve yourself in order to get a different outcome.
Yep.
You do need to do something different to get another outcome. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same thing.
Nothing changes if nothing changes.
100%. So whether it's stacking some more skills, so whether even builders with maybe it's improving your business operations, systems and processes, delegating. Like you have to make some changes, and sometimes you can even fail in that. You do the wrong thing or whatever, and that you'll learn. But unless you and I'm doing the same thing with my other agency now as well, like unless you kind of make some drastic changes, it's just going to be the same.
Yeah, and you look at pivotal points in your business.
That's a hard word.
Yeah. But you look at that aspect, and what was that turning point for you? At what point was it where you go, I'm going to go in this direction now. I'm going to do this differently from everyone else. And you even look at like history, as you said, success leaves clues. Look at all the guys that have achieved amazing things in their businesses. Go and study them, see what they're doing, see what they've done that's different from everyone else. And the reason they've had such a huge level of success is they've broken away from the norm. They've broken away from what society, from what industry, from what everyone tells you should be doing, and does something different and gets the results. And then most people look at them and go, oh, they were lucky. Hang on, they've gone out on a limb, taken a risk, done everything they possibly could to make this succeed, and they did it. But they're lucky.
Yeah. So to kind of weave that same sort of thought about doing things different, stepping outside of your comfort zone, because that's a big part as well.
Yeah.
Being uncomfortable. Marketing. You're talking about doing your personal brand, something you're kind of looking at. How important has marketing been to you, Pascon, if we look at the construction side? Does that bring you in your work? How do you get your work? Is it through that marketing, or is it just one side of it? What are your sort of thoughts on, and I guess when you're talking to your mentees as well, what are your thoughts on the marketing aspect as a construction business?
The thing that people don't realize about branding and marketing, and let's just talk about branding for a second, is it's a long-term play. It's a forever game. And it influences people's decisions to build with you or to do business with you or not. Now, it's not an influence from one post. It's an influence from consistency. And when I first realized how powerful that's so, let's just talk about social media for the time being, because that's where the predominant space is for branding at the moment. But where I realized it was really powerful was, I reckon it was 2017 or 2018. It was probably 2018, mid or early. We had an inquiry come through Instagram. At that time, I was posting a lot more because I'd started to see a bit more traction. And we had an inquiry come through Instagram. Hey guys, love what you're about, love what you're doing, have a project. Can you have a look at it? I said, hey, nice to meet you. Met up with them, priced the project, and we won the project. So this was a $3.5 million job through an Instagram inquiry where I spent $0 on ad spend. They just engaged with our content, got in touch, and then we priced the job and won the project, $3.5 million. From that point on, I then go, cool, I grabbed 30 grand out of that project and put it and invested that into building a brand, marketing, all that sort of stuff. Because I realized, well, if I'm getting stuff from there, that's a no-brainer for me to do so. And then one thing led to another, and then we just kept going and going. Then we got invited to come on some like Open Homes Australia on a few TV shows. I think we've been on that 3 times now. And it just, again, kept growing and growing. And then we engaged a media company. So they do all of our content creation now, photos, videos, and some really high-end videos. And again, people say, oh, it's lucky for you. It's easy for you. You just get all the jobs because you got all this work. Hang on, we spend tens of thousands of dollars a month in getting those projects because we have that vision. Like I do in my events when I've got them, we say to the guys, put your hand up if you're spending money on ads right now and running ads for your business. There's every single time we do this, it's less than 5% of the room put their hands up.
Yeah.
I said, see everyone, that's your opportunity. But none of you are fucking doing it because you're too scared, because you're not doing anything different. You're doing the same thing as everyone else. Oh, I'm too busy. Okay. Why not be really busy with the best projects, not really busy with some shitty ones, some good ones, some that you're making good money on, some that you're not making good money on. So to tell you how important it is, I think it's one of the core pillars of running a successful construction company. And if you're not building brand and doing marketing in today's age, you will forever be exposed to those who are, every single time.
You're just going to get left behind because there's going to be another guy that's just as good as you, that also gets just as many referrals as you. Now he's doing all the stuff on top of that. He's going to leave you behind.
Well, I was saying this to one of my business partners in another business the other day. It's like sometimes it does take 10 years before you have that 1 year that changes your life. And I feel like I'm in that space now. I feel the last 6 months for us, things have just exploded. We're getting inquiries coming in. I'm picking and choosing projects. I'm like, yep, I'll do that one, no worries. And if I feel like someone's not on our level, I'll say, look, sorry, we're booked out till 2030. I'll say whatever I want not to do the job. Or I'll say, look, yeah, we can do this, but we'll charge for quote, it's this much. And then you can qualify people in that. That's just one way we can look at qualifying people. But yeah, I find that the wheel's ticking over now because we're building those proper connections with our audience, with people on social media and across all the platforms, but then also the relationships, the current ones that we've got with our new clients, with everyone that happens in that circle too.
Yeah. So as a guideline, what % of turnover should you be spending on marketing? So because there's some builders out there, they're not spending anything. They feel like they need, and if you tell them to spend $2,000 on something, they fall off their chair.
Yeah.
But what's the percentage? How much should people be spending on marketing, do you think?
Look, I don't have it as a specific percentage per se. It's what you can afford. Like, I don't want you to go out there and spend money on things that you can't genuinely afford. It's got to be within the realms of what you're able to do at that time. But I would say definitely have a kitty in the bank for at least anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 a month. Right, that's for content creation, for running some ads, or even if it's a branding awareness type thing, it's still going to help. And this is the thing, when you run ads and you run marketing stuff, it's still branding too, because you will still get eyeballs on your pages, on your platform, and it helps with that as well. So, I've got clients now. I had a couple of clients. We were doing a mentoring session with them, and they're saying, "Oh, we're running out of work." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to just, I'll come next month. I've got 3 projects finishing. I don't have anything else." I said, "But you should be running ads. This should have been something you forecast. When are you going to run out of work? So at what month are you going to run out of work? Is it January? Is it March? Is it December? Like, when are you running out of work? 6 months prior to that, you should be running ads. You should be putting things in motion to go, how am I going to get that next lot of projects to come through the door? Where is it going to come from? Because everyone tells me, I'm a referral-based business. Cool. Turn the tap on, get more referrals. How does that, show me how that happens. Okay, turn the tap off, get less referrals. You can't manage that, whereas you can't control that metric in your business, whereas you can with marketing. You're spending money to get a direct result, and you can track it. You can go, yes, this ad's doing really well, or it's targeting this demographic, or no, that's doing really bad. Let's change the ad, let's change the copy, let's change the photo, let's do a new video. Let's do a whole range of things to actually be proactive and get the target audience that we want. And again, too many people, they just get in their own way. Oh, I don't like my hair. No one gives a shit. No one cares about that. People don't want, and someone said this to me the other day. They go, I love your content because you teach. Like, this is talking about my personal brand and even the Builder Elite one. It's like you just give value without wanting anything in return. I'm just saying, hey, do this. And then a lot of businesses look at it in the sense that I'm just going to put a photo up of this house and, I expect to get 50,000 likes. You're putting a photo up with the intent of wanting something in return. You're not putting it up with the intent of going, hey, this is educational or this is entertainment. Yeah. And they're one of the 2 things you really got to hit when it comes to social media. You're either going to entertain or you're going to educate. And if you can, the really good content does both.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of, I've always thought, the conversations I've had even with my other agents, with my agency as well, with other builders, is that they kind of think their project just should speak for itself. Like, here's all the projects.
Yeah.
And yeah, the projects will turn people's head, but we actually found, looking at dozens and dozens and dozens, probably even over like 100 different websites, what the number one viewed page was on their website. And I always ask people, what do you think it is? And people always say, oh, it's the gallery, it's the project page. People want to see the projects you're working on. And it's actually the about or profile page. So people want to actually know about you. And if there's nothing on there, because that's the number one viewed page. So maybe the project turns their head. It's like a bit of red dress content.
Yeah.
Turns their head. Now they want to come and find out, well, who is this builder? There's nothing there. If you've created no content, you're not telling a story, you're not, like you say, providing any value, there's nothing there, they'll just sort of move on. And if you give them something, then they will stay longer on your website, and you'll build that connection.
People buy from people. That's what it comes down to. People want to connect with people. If I say Tesla, who do you think of?
Yeah, Elon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you look at, and I do this exercise where I show people's brand, like famous people and really well-known people. I show people's company and how many followers they have, and then I show them their personal brand and how many followers they have. And every single time, it is so far to the personal brand, as in the following and the influence, than what it is the company, because people don't give a shit. They care about you, and like they care about the society, the influence, the person, more than they care about that. So that's why I encourage all my mentees, and again, we do a whole 3 days on this. It's when we teach them the importance, not just personal brand, but business brand, but the importance of establishing a personal brand and telling people what you're about, showing them what you're about, because they will build trust and rapport with you to then go, okay, yeah, I really want George to build. Do you know how many people have come up to me over the years and gone, I feel like I know you so well, and I've never met them before. Never met them before. I'm like, oh, I really appreciate that, mate. Thanks a lot. But they say, I've just followed all your stuff. I've been listening to all your things for such a long time that I feel like I know you so well. I'm like, oh, great. And that's really good to hear. And it encourages me to keep doing more. Here's the thing though, with when you start putting yourself out there too, you're going to get lots of praise, but you're also going to get the other aspect of it too. Oh, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just obviously trying to rip people off. You're a dodgy builder. What do you know? You don't know anything. Like, it's going to come with the good. The good comes with the bad. And my advice to that is, as much as you don't listen to the bad, I also don't listen to the good. Like where I said, 2018, 2019, I was untouchable. I was so good. I was hearing all the praise. I was believing the hype about me and my company and myself. And then I got punched in the face. I got punched in the face and I got brought back down to earth. Now I hear the praise, it means nothing.
Yeah.
I hear the criticism, it means nothing. Something I tell my kids is, if someone's ever teasing you, what I tell them is like, I don't like your blue hair. And she's like, my daughter's like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't like your blue hair. And she's like, but I don't have blue hair. But I don't like your blue hair. She's like, I don't have blue hair. So then why does it bother you? It doesn't. So, okay, you're ugly. I don't like your earrings. Do you know your earrings are nice? She's like, yeah. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about what someone else says. And it's the same with social media. You're going to get the keyboard warriors. You're going to get the people there that want to bring you down to their level. And the more you put yourself out there, the more you start to do things differently from the norm, that's when you get the criticism. I've had it when I've said, okay, one thing I hate, I can't stand it, is owner builders. I think if there was a button right here, right now, it said, George, we're live on camera, this is in the podcast, everyone in the country is going to know that you are responsible for abolishing owner builder projects, I'd press it right now. Wouldn't even hesitate. The fact that you can build your own home in this country just because you own it, to me, is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Where do you get off saying that a person who is not qualified to build one of the most heavily regulated things in the country can build it just because they own it? On that basis, I'm an owner dentist. I'm an owner teacher. I'm an owner butcher. I'm an owner accountant. Why not? Why can't I do all that shit? I can add up things on a calculator. I could walk into a classroom and teach some kids, no worries. What's the difference? I've got kids. Let me teach your kids. What's the difference?
Yeah, it is pretty ridiculous if you think about it.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It is ridiculous. And but this stuff I've put up on social media, and then you get all the people coming on. One of my most popular posts on LinkedIn was that topic. And then I said, like, there's not a person on the planet that can give me logical reasons as to why an owner builder is better than a builder. A good builder, because then they all come up with the same shit every time. Oh, you'll save money. You'll, I know people who can build better than builders, and there's the ability there for them to save a bit of money along the way and all this sort of stuff. No. If you employ a good builder, they will always build it better. They will build it quicker, and they'll probably build it for less, because in the long run, most of these people that are doing owner-builder projects generally have a full-time job. So they're trying to part-time owner-build a project that we've had to work 10 years for to get our license and get the necessary experience and qualifications to go through and do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely, it's a bit of a ridiculous thing, really. Okay, so in terms of your business, which numbers are the most important to you, whether it's, accounting-wise or head count or whatever? Which numbers do you look at to go, my business is on track or not on track?
Yeah, good. There's a few things. I always look at, in the micro, I look at project forecasting. So every single project, we do a monthly forecast on every single job. So I know to the cent how much money we are making or are not making on a project. We then look at it even further down to that and go, okay, well, are we making, I can tell you if I'm picking up money on concreting or electrical or plumbing or whatever it might be. So we can look at it at that level. We also then look at it and go, well, there's our gross profit for our project. Are we picking up any more through letting gains? Are we losing money? Are we less than our gross profit forecasted originally? And then by having that information, you can start to make strategic deals, moves that will benefit the business in the long run, but also that project too. So for example, literally on my way here, I was on the phone with a contractor. He's over my budget on a rendering package. But then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give you this job and that job, but together I needed you to do it for this price. Yep, cool. But because I've got that information in front of me and I can see the two, I can make an informed decision rather than just go, oh, fuck, all right, here, I'll take a $5,000 hit, or oh, I'm picking up 30 grand over here. I'm losing 5 here, swings and roundabouts, it'll be thereabouts. No, you've got to make informed decisions. So that's the first thing I'll look at. On top of that, I then I try and make all of my costs for employees on the business a nil cost, if not making me money. And a lot of people are like, oh, how do you do that? So I've got 9 heads that I've got to feed.
Yeah.
And I try on every single project, well, not try, most of my overhead costs for wages are project-based, every single one of them. So all my site guys, they're a no-brainer. They are a project cost.
Yep.
Without them working, my projects don't get built. So I need to allow their salaries across those projects. Then in the office, same thing. The administrators, project manager, all that sort of stuff, they need to be allocated across all the projects. And then even myself or my PA or anyone else that I have, the GM now that is coming on board, eventually all those associated costs need to be project costs. And that helps keep the money coming in one door and going out the other. So that's one thing I always try and do each
So how do you do
year.
that? So do you just spread them across the different projects?
All right, so if I've got 5 projects, I'm going to allow supervision across every single project first of all. And again, we do bigger projects, so it's easier for me to do this. So say, for example, we're about to sign up 6 large townhouses in Brighton. That justifies a single supervisor on that project. So I'll put his full wage for that time on that project. He can also manage another job in the area too. So then I can put 80% of a wage on the other project. Every single job will cover all the site guys. And then there's often surplus for me to cover other overhead wages in the office. And then I also allow administration because I have a contract administrator or a project manager that does that as well. And he comes in, manages the project, does all that. So I allow it in my bill of quantities effectively when I'm tendering.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you have to because they are all there to service the job. I don't have them there to service the office. They're servicing the project. And this is where a lot of builders, again, you don't know what you don't know. So many of them, I had one client at Builder Elite who would just use his profits as his wage. And I said, mate, you got money coming in the door and going straight out paying you. When he goes, who's managing your jobs? He goes, I am. I said, so why haven't you allowed $30,000 per project for supervision? Oh, I won't be competitive. I won't do. Like, no, you're working for free. You're not making the money you should be making because someone along the way told you, 10% is a lot of money, 15% is a lot of money. You should be happy with $100,000 on this job. No, because this is the thing. Clients, so owners and builders, your builder should be making really good money on your project. Because if he's making really good money on your project, he's going to employ the best subcontractors. He's going to get the best materials. if there's ever an issue, he's not going to then try and fix it in a cheap way. It's going to be like, no, rip it up, do it again. Let's go. Do it properly.
Yeah.
He can make quick decisions. He can invest in new employees that help your project and help his business. He can invest in training those employees, which in effect helps you and your site. He can invest in new software that helps your project. There's such a huge ecosystem in that space that if your builder's making good money, they reinvest it. They don't just go out and buy jet skis and Toyota Land Cruisers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
All right? And good power to them if they do. You should. You should buy everything you can and want in your life. Absolutely you should. But if they're making good money, or every builder I've ever come across that's made good money always has great projects. Why? Because they know how to manage their jobs, they know how to manage the projects, and as a result of them making money, they invest it back in their business.
Yeah.
And then from that as well, I also look at gross profit across the company, but net profit too. Try and do. I don't do it monthly, although now that I'm putting the GM in, I will be. But it's definitely something quarterly that I look at.
Yeah.
I'll sit down and go through that.
And that's the one thing I've realized. I mean, I fell into that as well when I started my business. Is that the builder, especially the guys that sort of 2-3 years in, they don't separate themselves from the business. They don't realize like, hey, that's the business, and you now work in the business or work for the business. Yeah. And it's two different things. It's not, you know what I mean? Otherwise, they'll just sort of take the profits off and call it their salary and call it a day.
Yeah.
How do you work your contracts in your business to make sure that you're covering risks? Do you just use like a master builder's contract? Are you master builders or HIA or something?
Yeah, so we've been I've used master builders over the years. I've used most of them. I've used architect administrated contracts. For our bigger projects, we tend to use the Abigroup ones more so because they're often managed by a superintendent as well throughout the build. So we use those. I've recently then use another contract from Registered Builders Network, they're a mob out in, I think they're down Bayside somewhere. Their contracts are written in a way that protects the builder a little bit more, which is good. Not that it's that it's a disadvantage to the owner, but just has some little things in there that protect the builder a little bit more so. So I've used one of those contracts as well. I think the biggest thing, and this is one of my things that I harp on about to every builder that ever comes across my path, is the special conditions in the contract are so critically important to you on the project. This is your opportunity to include all the inclusions, exclusions, be really specific about what your price is reflective of. And I've seen guys that have 2 sentences in that section, like building in accordance with the plans. Like, what are you doing? You've left everything open for interpretation, which is just going to lead to arguments, disagreements, costing you money, costing them money because you haven't put it down clearly what needs to happen. So we literally have a section in our contracts that says owner obligations. I sit down with my owners during the tender phase, but then also during the contract signing and say, these are your obligations to me. This is what you need to do in order for this project to be successful, or your obligations to the project more so than me. And it's some basic things that you probably be like, I don't need to say that. Yes, you do, because people will take it for granted or take advantage or think it's okay. It's simple stuff like you're not to attend site without representation from a Pascon employee. Because I've had clients go on site out of hours. I've had clients go on there and go, oh, you've done this, send me a 15-page email about one of their doors being in the wrong location and how I've ruined their house and their life and this and this. I'm like, we know this isn't our first rodeo. Like, we know it's there. It's there because of this reason, because of access, because of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks. But then you've had to go through that stress, through the emails, through everything, through the time wasting, everything there.
What are some more examples of like those additional clauses that you put in
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. I'll give you some. So stuff like not recently, but I added this in. You're not to make contact with me or my employees outside of business hours. Our business hours are between 7 and 5:30. You can contact us during those times. Outside of those times, you're not to contact me, employees, anyone, unless it's an emergency. Yep. And even if it's an emergency, George, the house is on fire. Do you want me to bring a bucket? Like, what do you call the fire brigade? Don't call me. I'll sort it out in the morning and I'll make an insurance claim.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. I'm in my pajamas. Like, why am I going to stress about that? Because when I first started out, you always want it. Customer's always right. Customer isn't always right. You know, that's only part of the saying.
I heard that the other day. What's the rest of the saying? I forgot
Customer
now.
is always right in matters of taste. If you want pink ceilings and green floors, absolutely I can do that for you. No worries. But if you're going to tell me how to lay the floor, how to paint the ceiling, no. You're not going to tell me that. If you're going to come here and abuse me whilst I'm painting the ceiling, no. Customer is not always right then. So, because when I first started out, I had a client. He would call me and message me at like 9, 10 p.m. Like, do you message your accountant at this time? Are you going to message your butcher? Are you going to abuse your butcher at that time? Like, do you call your children's teachers up at 10 p.m. and say, my daughter's not happy with the way you treated her today at school, and then writing her a 15-page email? No. So I make that really clear to them. Payment terms, critically important. Make them understand at the very beginning what their obligations are. We've now put in with any late payments for us is 25% interest on invoices if they're late, and we charge it. All right, and I've had clients say, "Oh, that's too much. It's ridiculous. You can't charge me 25%." I said, "Look, I can actually make it zero. There's two ways I can make it zero, where you don't pay me any interest. The first one is pay me on time, and I'm not going to charge you this ever." And I go, the second way is we tear up the contract right now. Right now, because if you're telling me you're going to be late on payments, this is a bad business decision for me to make.
It's a red flag if they pick that up and go, "Oh, I'm not happy about this." It's like, why?
That's right. That's right. This is what I'm saying. You got to vet your clients. And this is why we do this during the tender process. "Oh, no, I will never pay that." Okay, thank you. We're out. Good luck with your project. I've walked away from projects for less.
Yeah.
Because of that reason. Because if I now feel that the client isn't in line with what we're about, then said, "Look, I don't think we're the right builder for you. Good luck with everything. Wish you all the best."
Yeah.
I don't care how big the value is. And it's funny, because I have that abundance mentality now, I'm attracting so much in my life and in my business. No, you're not a missed opportunity. Like, again, I'm the prize. You've missed out. And also I want to establish that from the very beginning. You guys cannot be late. And I try and explain to them, I say, "Look, if I'm here and I'm building for Wendy and Wendy doesn't pay me, is it fair that I use your money to pay for Wendy's project?" "Oh, no, absolutely not, it is." Okay, thank you. "If you're late on payment, is it okay if I use Wendy's money to pay for your project?" "No." Well, then on that basis, every project we build, and this is something I'd give advice to every builder, it needs to be an independent project from the other ones. Otherwise, you're running a Ponzi scheme. You're using your 5% deposit here to pay for that deposit over there.
And how often are builders doing that? How often are they running a Ponzi scheme?
Heaps. Again, but who teaches them how to manage their jobs? "Oh, no. What centers do your studs need to be at? Here's your license."
Yeah.
You know, they don't get taught these things. There's so many things that they don't get taught. And again, this is why I started Builder Elite, because I realized there was such a huge gap there. You know, builders are the number one profession in the country to go broke. You know what they're number 2 at? Suicide. All right, number 2.
Yeah.
All right, and they're not great statistics. They're not great statistics at all.
I heard
because
I
there's
don't know
so much pressure. There's so much on them. And now I don't know if you've heard, you probably wouldn't have heard this, with the VBA is now merging with the Dispute Resolution Board and VMIA to become one body. And they've got, these are the new powers. They sent an email out the other day, and like, these are the new powers of the governing body in Victoria for the building and plumbing authorities. And it's like, they can do this, they can do this, they can do this. You piece of shit. Okay, you've come out and all you've done, you're supposed to be the beacon for the industry, helping the industry and helping builders. Instead, all you're doing is coming out and saying, this is how we're going to punish you if you do something wrong. Instead of going, this is how we're going to support you to help build more houses. We're trying to build 1 million homes a year, and we're well below that target. I'll tell you what, if someone puts me in power today, I will build 1 million homes over the next year. I will get the $1 million target built over the next year, and I will and I'll do it by helping builders. But no one wants to do that because it's political suicide.
Yeah.
They don't want to touch builders because, the mums and dads have gone broke. And you think about the news. Every time you turn on the news about the construction industry, another builder's gone broke, the poor consumer, the poor mum and dad, and they'll have that person standing at the front of their unbuilt home looking all sad and depressed. "Oh, my life savings were here." You fucking chose the builder. How come you didn't do the due diligence? How about you take some responsibility?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there aren't builders out there that do the wrong thing. There are. But there are also dentists out there that do the wrong thing, that fill you up whilst you're getting a checkup. There are
Yeah.
also doctors that prescribe medicines they shouldn't. There's also florists that are a front for a drug cartel. Like there's bad everything in every industry, but you shouldn't paint that whole industry because of off the back of a few bad builders. The reason it gets so much bad publicity is it's often large numbers, large figures when one builder goes broke.
Yeah.
Right. And then, as I said, it gets painted against all the good builders, and all these good guys doing really good projects and working really hard for their money are then being, criticized for just trying to make a good living. And again, I wanted to change that space by doing it through Builder Elite. But even with the authority thing, like you've just got to help builders if you want to build your targets, hit your targets of building 1 million homes. Get rid of the red tape. That's not to say you're going to police it less. It's not going to be saying it's going to be less quality as a result of you doing that. You're just helping them. And one place I would start is with the Domestic Building Contracts Act as well, because it's structured in a way that's ancient and prehistoric. No one can build a house with deposit-based frame, lock-up, fix, final. Houses today are not boxes. Every bedroom has an ensuite. There's cantilever this, there's feature that, there's whatever it is.
Yeah.
How can you build it with your 5-6 progress payments? You can't. It needs to be structured differently now to give the builder more cash flow in order for them to build their project and not put them under financial strain. And there's 4 big banks in the country. Do you know who the 5th is? It's builders.
Yeah.
Because they're funding the project to each stage of construction. They're using their money to get to that next stage, and they're trying to rush it. And they get to that stage, all for a client to come in and go, oh no, you haven't installed 3 noggins. We're going to hold off $50,000.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where we started the conversation, right? It's just builders aren't, they're not set up for success in the current structure.
That's right.
And I guess one of the conclusions you can make of that is that builders do need to be a lot more proactive and onto it on
Absolutely.
the business side.
So this is their onus too, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not here just to defend the industry. You've got to pull your finger out and do something different too. Don't just sit there and say, oh, the VBAs doesn't help me. Oh, Master Builders or HIA or, RBN, all these guys, no one helps me. Everyone's against me. The clients are against me. No. Educate yourself, because why do I have all amazing clients right now? Why have I got really well paying clients and making good profits on these projects? Why have I got an amazing team? Why am I in a position now to put a GM on? Why? Because I've educated myself over the years now and been able to put myself in that position. Your opportunity now is there's so much information out there for you to go and ascertain to make yourself better. And that can be within specifically the construction industry, or it can be any other business coaching. Like go and speak to your accountant once a week.
Yeah.
Understand your numbers. Hey, what does gross profit and net profit mean? I don't know. There are guys out there that don't know that stuff.
Yeah. So you got to educate yourself. And
You've got to take responsibility. Like this is what I say. I could very easily sit back here and say, poor me, it was all Daniel Andrews' fault. It was COVID's fault. I was locked down. It wasn't my client didn't pay me. That's my fault. I signed the contract to use that client. That was my fault. I signed the contract. I sat down with him and I did the job. I didn't invoice him. I didn't charge him extra. I didn't put my employees on 3 days a week, which I should have. That's the biggest thing I've learned over the years. Protect the ship.
Yeah.
Always protect the ship.
I think that's such good advice. We've just gone like over an hour, and I feel like we could be talking for like another 2 hours easily. Do you mind if I do some rapid fire questions before I let you go, George? And I really appreciate you coming on, and I think a lot of builders would have got a lot out of that. Also shout out to Builders Elite. This is not like an ad or anything, but I recommend they go check that out. Like any other coaching businesses, obviously do your due diligence, non-business related, any way you can upskill yourself, even if it's through your accountant or whatever. I think is this a never-ending process of learning and development and getting better, right? So we all got to do it.
Just connect with me wherever I'm on all the platforms. You can find me, connect with me, and then I'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that would be really good. Okay, so here we go. How big is your team?
9.
What's your crew mix, qualified versus unqualified?
Say that again.
Your crew mix, so like qualified versus unqualified percentage?
I'd say it's 80-20.
Cool. How many projects did you complete last year?
Last year, 5.
Cool. What's your turnover range? Under 1 mil, 1 to 3, 3 to 8, 8 to 15, or 15 plus?
15 plus.
Cool. What's the lowest gross profit margin building companies should be aiming for?
I'd say gross profit should be 25%.
Cool. I like that. Free quote or paid quote?
Paid every day of the week.
QS or price yourself?
Price yourself every day of the week.
Project management software or spreadsheets?
Project management software. I think you knew the answer to that before you said it.
Yeah. Fixed price contract or charge up or cost plus?
Good question. Both. I like both.
Yeah. For different scenarios.
Different scenarios, yeah. I've got both at the moment, for sure.
Texting or talking on the phone?
Talking on the phone. I can't stand texting.
Would you rather have a beer with an architect, a subby, or council member?
Jeez. Well, definitely council members last.
They never get the vote.
Nah, I'll say the architect because the subby will thank me when I get the job.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer. Jock or hippie?
Say again?
Jock or hippie?
Jock.
Wine or whiskey?
Whiskey.
These days, building business owners are A, too impatient, B, forward thinkers, or C, hard workers.
Hard workers.
Are you too mean or too nice to your staff?
Good question. I'm not mean. No, I'd say too nice. If I have to pick one, I'd say too nice.
Okay, well, they can comment below, so we'll find out anyway. Favorite business book or resource?
Yeah, I love reading at the moment. A book I recently read that I really liked was Patrick Bet-David, Your Next 5 Moves.
Cool, yeah. I like Patrick Bet-David. What's one item you can't live without?
My laptop.
Who has inspired you the most in life or in business?
My wife.
Good answer. Last question. Did you have fun?
Oh, absolutely. Get me back next time.
Yeah, I'd love to have you on again.
Part
and
two.
I really appreciate it, George. And I think, yeah, like I said before, I think a lot of builders would have got a good amount of value out of this conversation. And make sure, guys, you go check them out. Pascon, Builder Elite.
George.Passas, most places.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you having my time to be on the show and love what you're doing with everything, mate. It's fantastic. Awesome.
Cheers.